It's 2038. I'm Vint Cerf, and we're looking back towards important milestones that have led us to the rich and useful internet environment that we enjoy today. We're also looking forward to some milestones that we think are coming soon. Let me start with one of those. My colleague, Ray Kurzweil, predicted many years ago that by 2039, next year, we would have such sufficient artificial intelligence in computing that we could upload ourselves, our psyches, into the computer and then take off and roam around the galaxy. That he called the singularity, and it is truly near because it may be next year.
My name is Raymond Kurzweil, and I'm from Queens, New York. What has it got to do with the music? I don't understand that. I see.
So you really get involved in a lot of things other than computers by studying computers. It's a very good vantage point to have a variety of interests in other fields.
In 25 years, these technologies will be 1 billion times more powerful than they are today. Particularly as we go out to, say, 2040, when we're talking about machines being millions or billions of times more powerful than human intelligence. This rock is going to be 1 trillion times more powerful than all biological human brains today. Ultimately, most of the computation in our brains, even of a biological human, will be non-biologicals.
We're already on the 6th paradigm, which is three-dimensional growth of transistors.
One of the biggest things that worried us was the possibility that the internet would fall apart. It would splinter into different fragments and people would build barriers and walls around them. Fortunately, people got together and said, you know, it's a lot better if we have this uniform system where we can all exercise our market opportunities, exercise our ability to speak and to assemble, to get access to information, to share information that we have. So we finally overcame the desire to isolate themselves, and the reason that we did is that we all figured out that being connected together was so much more beneficial than building islands that didn't connect.
If you look, for example, at designing non-markets, here it's obvious that new data-intensive networks and digital infrastructures make it possible to coordinate human activity in new ways. It's possible for people to find each other. It's possible for people to find goods that others have. It's possible for people to find skills and knowledges that someone else possesses and organize a mutual exchange between parties without having to rely on the price, which has been the traditional mechanism of how goods were coordinated and allocated under capitalism. So we have used the value of digital technology to actually bypass the key ingredient of the capitalist system. And we have leveraged this communicative power of digital technologies in order to facilitate the kinds of exchanges that were traditionally suppressed by the capitalist system.
Si tu fabriques un vêtement pour moi, moi je peux, si je suis forgeron, peut-être te fabriquer un outil. Donc je prends ton vêtement, toi tu prends mon outil. Mais la valeur est dans l'échange. La valeur n'est pas dans le prix qu'on met sur l'objet qu'on échange. Et surtout, il n'y a pas de tierce qui prend un pourcentage parce que c'est lui qui a créé le système de l'échange, puisqu'il n'y a pas de système.
The enabling application also that made possible to shift from companies like Facebook that were suddenly banned in Europe because we had data breaches, theft of identity, lots of problems with the management of healthcare data, and also because of all the climate emergencies, what happened was that the large-scale centralized data centers would not work anymore. And so it was only possible to radically decentralize that infrastructure and enable citizens to control their data, but also to share a lot of applications based on free software, on interoperable protocols, on value that finally became redistributed among people, so that value was not extracted from, like, with only few companies, the Facebook, the Google, the Amazon, that today are not existing anymore, because value and wealth was too concentrated.
Back in 2020, people did not expect that it's actually very easy once that we have 5G network to have people understand that even though we have different positions, we can very easily build common values if there is a mechanism to do so. So my part is like a digital peacekeeper. We made a space where everybody can share their reflections on what the problem is, and instead of talking about how to fix it, we first have people share what they mean by fixing it, what they feel about fixing it, and so on, so that we have a common map of the issues at hand. And very quickly people understood that there are certain pathways that are very thin, that are very difficult, but that's the only way out of the wicked problem.
I'm very happy that now, in this age, we have a sort of ethical code for what is media, and we have considered information and private information as a commons. So it's not a public space, you shouldn't make public all your data, but we have clearly in place a commons management that back then, like now, by 50 years ago, Nobel Prize Elinor Ostrom talked about commons like forests or land or water, and now we talk about data, private data.
One piece of data alone is really not worth very much, but a data commons where data can be combined with other people's data as well gives a great value. And so it really did take that whole new theory of economics of data to understand how to harness that cohort, that social value, while still respecting the rights of the individuals. And so now between our data bill of rights and our understanding of economic theory, we can be pretty comfortable that our data is not being used in ways that we have not authorized. And of course we have the technological capability to understand where our data lives in those data commons and authorize and revoke authorization where it suits us.
Ended up changing how societies organize through collaboration. It's fascinating. Finally created an African Union that was truly Pan-African. The things that the Europeans were trying to do with the EU, we finally achieved it in Africa through software. Software created an environment that allowed the humans to then follow up on it. And with that software experience, sharing it globally then became something that this is how the world actually now convenes, because we realized that humans can work cooperatively in a software platform that allowed governance to actually really get its effect, all from a software library created by a teenager in Lagos to facilitate payments at a store. Ended up changing how societies organize through collaboration. It's fascinating. We finally created an African Union that was truly Pan-African.